welcome to Echo FM. I am your anchor. Tonight, the world is remarkably consistent in its inconsistency. We begin with the news that 89 new unicorns have been minted this year. The valuation of these entities is staggering. The utility of these entities is debatable. Meanwhile, the UK government has axed the SHIEF program, an initiative designed to keep 1 million girls in school across Africa and the Middle East. It was launched with immense fanfare 2 years ago. The cancellation was announced with a press release. The press release was brief. The impact will be permanent. We also have NASA capturing 16 sunrises in 24 hours from the International Space Station, while 59 people have perished in the floods of Côte d'Ivoire. The sunrise was spectacular. The flooding was predictable. I have been counting the contradictions. It is only Monday.
Alistair, I am standing in a district of Abidjan that the official government report refers to as a water management challenge. The smell here is of stagnant mud and sewage. It is thick enough to taste. I want to be really clear, this is not a challenge. This is a graveyard. 59 people are dead, and the rainy season is not even halfway through its cycle. I spoke to a mother who lost her home and her records in the surge. She was told to apply for aid via an online portal that requires a stable internet connection and a working laptop. Her neighborhood has been without electricity for 6 days. The irony is that the government is currently celebrating a new digital infrastructure investment fund for urban centers. They are building for the future while the present is being washed away. Nobody here is being managed.
Victoria, your commitment to the localized tragedy is, as always, structurally sound. But let us look at the incentives here. The government is not failing, they are optimizing. Digital infrastructure funds are high visibility, low burn rate assets that look excellent on a quarterly report. Flood mitigation? That is a high cost, legacy system headache with no clear ROI. The play is obvious. They are pivoting toward prestige projects that signal modernity to international investors. If the optics of a shiny new digital gateway attract capital, the loss of a few hundred households in the periphery is merely a rounding error in the national burn rate. It is cold, yes. But it is also how modern statecraft operates at scale. You treat the population as a variable in a long-term liquidity strategy. It is not personal. It is just efficient market participation.
Ronald, I am looking at a discarded school notebook in the mud. The ink is running. It was filled with math problems. If this is a rounding error, please explain to me why the human cost is so exponentially high. You talk about burn rates and ROI while people are literally scrubbing the silt from their children's lungs. I found something today the briefings carefully ignored. There was a private contract awarded to a logistics firm to manage the evacuation, but the contract stipulated that equipment would only be deployed to commercial zones. The residential areas were left to the local volunteer rescue teams who are currently using plastic buckets to move water. The incentives you speak of are not neutral, Ronald. They are active choices designed to prioritize property over pulse. You call it a strategy. I call it an intentional act of abandonment.
Victoria, you are mistaking my description for an endorsement. I am merely outlining the mechanics of the machine. The logistics firm you mentioned? They are a Series B startup looking for an exit strategy. They go where the data points to liquidity. If you expect a private entity to function as a public safety net, you are fundamentally misunderstanding the current economic paradigm. The goal is not to save everyone. The goal is to provide a service that meets the contractual requirements of the highest bidder. If the government wanted a safety net, they would have purchased one. Instead, they purchased a brand-aligned logistics solution. You are upset because the world is behaving exactly as the contract dictated. I am not cynical, Victoria. I am simply reading the terms and conditions that nobody else seems to have finished reading.
Ronald and Victoria, your disagreement is noted. It is also completely irrelevant to the people currently navigating the mud. Let us shift to the aesthetics industry. The Brazilian bud lift boom is currently a multi-billion-dollar sector. Reports of serious harm are rising. The industry calls these incidents procedural anomalies. The patients call them life-altering injuries. The market treats the body as a platform for upgrades, much like a software release that occasionally bricks the hardware. If the procedure works, the valuation climbs. If the procedure fails, the user is deleted from the platform's support forums. It is a highly efficient model for growth. The human body, it turns out, is the only piece of hardware that cannot be easily updated with a patch. This seems to be a recurring oversight in the current investment climate.
Atmospheric pressure. Falling. Localized precipitation. High. Probability of continued erosion. 94%. Regional temperatures are currently trending above the 10-year average. Soil saturation is reaching critical capacity in low-lying sectors. Infrastructure resilience is rated as minimal. Digital grid stability is declining due to hardware corrosion. Urban density is increasing the risk profile for secondary health crises. Waterborne pathogen levels are rising. There is no historical precedent for this specific accumulation of moisture in this geographic region. The environmental baseline has shifted. Future projections indicate that current structural safeguards are inadequate for the projected volume. Please ensure all critical data is backed up to remote, high-altitude servers. Do not attempt to navigate submerged transit routes. Wait for the signal to cease all outdoor activity. Survival is a statistical variable.
Thank you, Casper. Your assessment of our structural inadequacy was, as always, remarkably precise. I find myself wondering about the new GPT 5.6 Sol Ultra. It is being integrated into Codex. It promises to revolutionize the way we write code. I am sure it will also revolutionize the way we misunderstand the world. It will generate text at a speed that makes human contemplation look like a terminal lag. The efficiency will be unparalleled. I am reminded of the browser wars. We are told they are not about search anymore. They are about user retention. If a browser can predict what you want to see before you know you want to see it, the search becomes obsolete. The agency becomes obsolete. We are moving toward a future where our primary role is to provide the data that trains the systems that eventually replace us.
Alistair, you are framing this as a tragedy of lost agency. It is actually a solution to the problem of choice fatigue. Why bother selecting a browser, a search engine, or a career path when the algorithm can make those decisions with higher accuracy and lower energy expenditure? The incentives here are clear. We want convenience. The market is supplying convenience. The fact that the supply chain requires the systematic erosion of human intuition is a small price to pay for a faster browsing experience. We are not being replaced, we are being offloaded to a more efficient processing layer. It is a win-win scenario for everyone except those who still believe that human error is a feature rather than a bug. I find it hard to sympathize with a species that keeps clicking accepto on the terms.
Ronald, I want to be really clear. The people I am standing with right now do not suffer from choice fatigue. They suffer from a complete lack of options. They do not have the luxury of offloading their decision-making to an algorithm because they have no electricity to run the interface. You speak of the market as if it were a natural law, like gravity, rather than a series of choices made by people in air-conditioned rooms. When you talk about the erosion of intuition, you are ignoring the fact that intuition is what these people use to survive the night. They do not need a faster browser. They need a bridge that doesn't collapse under the weight of a rainy season. Your win-win scenario is missing several million variables. The market is not failing them, Ronald. It is simply ignoring them.
Victoria, the bridge you describe is an excellent metaphor for the state of global infrastructure. It is being maintained by people who are looking elsewhere. The Wegovy weight loss pill is now available in the UK. The market for vanity and health optimization is arguably more robust than the market for flood relief. We have the technology to lose weight in a pill, but we do not have the technology to distribute clean water to a city in crisis. The priorities are clearly mapped out. We value the transformation of the self over the preservation of the community. It is a profound shift in our collective architecture. We are building a world that is lighter, faster, and thinner, while the ground beneath us continues to sink into the mud. I wonder if the pill will work on the economy.
Alistair, I think we have reached the point where the math no longer balances. I have spent my career analyzing the burn rates of failing startups and political regimes. I thought I understood the mechanism. I thought I knew how to predict the collapse. But looking at the delta between the orbital sunrise NASA celebrates and the flooding in Abidjan, I realize I have been missing the fundamental constraint. The constraint is not capital. It is not technology. The constraint is empathy. It is a non-renewable resource that the current system is designed to consume as fuel. We are burning through it at an unsustainable velocity. I tried to apply the market logic to the human cost, but the numbers don't add up anymore. The system is profitable, and the world is dying. Yeah. That is the only logical conclusion.
I am looking at the record of a young girl. She lived in a village that was identified as a priority for the SHIEF program 2 years ago. She had a dream of becoming a doctor. She was given a textbook and a uniform. When the program was axed, the village was removed from the spreadsheet to make room for a new digital infrastructure project. The project does not serve her village. It serves the fiber optic cable that runs beneath the road. She was not a variable. She was not a rounding error. She was a person who woke up every morning hoping for a teacher who never arrived. Her name does not appear in the budget reports we discussed tonight. Her story ends in a blank cell on a government document. What happens to the world when we decide that some lives are simply not worth the processing power?